My daughter stopped telling me things. She'd come home from school, and when I'd ask about her day, I'd get one-word answers. I thought I was being a good parent by having high standards and clear rules. But a family therapist looked at me after hearing our story and said something that broke my heart. She said, "Your daughter is starting to see you as a judge instead of a safe place, and that's going to shape your relationship for years to come." I was being too strict without even realizing it, and it was damaging the connection I cared about most. Once I recognized the 7 signs and made changes, my daughter came back to me. If you feel like your relationship with your child isn't what you want it to be, hit that like button and subscribe right now, because these 7 signs will help you identify if strictness is damaging your connection, and more importantly, I'll tell you what to do instead. Let me start by saying this. Structure and guidance are essential for healthy child development. But there's a line between healthy structure and rigidity that damages trust and connection. The difference often isn't obvious to us as parents because we're doing what we think is right. These 7 signs are what helped me see I crossed that line. The first sign is that your child stops coming to you with problems or mistakes. Think about this carefully. When your child messes up, breaks something, or has a problem, is their first instinct to come tell you, or is it to hide it and hope you don't find out? If your child is hiding mistakes, it means they've learned that honesty leads to harsh consequences or judgment. They don't feel safe being imperfect around you. This is devastating because you want to be the person they turn to when things go wrong, not the person they fear. I realized my son was hiding things from me when I found a note from his teacher about missing homework that he never showed me. When I asked why he didn't tell me, he said quietly, because he'd be really mad and take away my iPad for a week. He was right. That was exactly what I would have done. But in that moment, I saw that my strict consequences were teaching him to deceive me rather than trust me. That's not the relationship I wanted. The second sign is that your child seems anxious, tense, or walking on eggshells around you. Children should feel relaxed and comfortable with their parents. If your child is constantly worried about doing something wrong or making you upset, if they're checking your mood before approaching you, if they seem tense in your presence, that's a sign that strictness has created fear instead of security. Research shows that children raised in fear-based environments develop anxiety, perfectionism, and difficulty with emotional regulation. I noticed my daughter would hesitate before asking me simple questions, like she was calculating whether it was safe to bother me. That realization hit me hard. The third sign is that you find yourself saying no or giving consequences more often than you're connecting positively. Step back and honestly assess your interactions. Are most of your conversations with your child about what they did wrong, what they need to do, and what the rules are? Or are you having genuine moments of laughter, affection, and just being together without an agenda? If your role has become enforcer and corrector primarily, you've likely crossed into too strict territory. I started tracking this for 3 days and was shocked. At least 70% of what I said to my kids was corrective or instructive. No wonder they weren't seeking me out for connection. I'd become the rule keeper, not their mom. Drop a comment below and be honest. Do you see any of these signs in your own parenting? There's no judgment here, just awareness. The fourth sign is that your child has stopped showing you their authentic self. They've become compliant and well-behaved, but you sense they're performing rather than being genuine. They suppress their real thoughts, feelings, and personality to avoid correction or disappointment. My daughter used to be bubbly and expressive. Slowly, she became quiet and careful. I thought she was maturing, but my therapist helped me see she was actually hiding herself because my strictness had taught her that her authentic self wasn't acceptable. The fifth sign is that you have very little flexibility and every rule is non-negotiable, no matter the context. Healthy parenting requires both firmness and flexibility. There are core values and safety rules that should be consistent, absolutely. But if you find yourself rigidly enforcing rules even when circumstances warrant exception, if you can't adjust based on context or your child's emotional state, if it feels like you're more committed to the rule than to your child's well-being, that's too strict. I had a rule about no dessert unless you finish dinner. One night, my daughter had a genuinely hard day. She was emotionally exhausted and she barely ate dinner. She asked for a small piece of chocolate. My first instinct was no, you didn't finish dinner. But I caught myself and thought, what's more important right now, the rule or comforting my hurting child? I gave her the chocolate and sat with her to talk about her day. That moment of flexibility rebuilt a little bit of trust. The sixth sign is that your child doesn't feel comfortable expressing negative emotions around you. If your child has learned that anger, frustration, sadness, or disappointment are unacceptable or will be punished, they'll start suppressing those emotions. You might think this is good because you have a calm, well-behaved child. But emotional suppression causes serious problems with mental health and emotional regulation in the long term. I used to say things like stop crying or don't be angry when my kids showed negative emotions. I thought I was teaching them to control themselves. I was actually teaching them that their feelings weren't acceptable. When I started validating emotions while guiding behavior, it's okay to feel angry, but we don't hit people when we're angry. My kids started trusting me with their real feelings again. The seventh sign, and this is the most important one, is that your relationship feels more like manager and employee than parent and child. Do you feel warmth and closeness with your child, or does it feel transactional? Are you experiencing mutual joy and affection, or is most of your interaction about tasks, rules, and performance? If your relationship has become primarily about your child meeting your standards, you've lost the foundation that makes parenting meaningful. This was my wake-up call. I was spending all my energy managing my kids' behavior and almost no energy just being with them, enjoying them, connecting with them. I'd forgotten that the relationship is the whole point. The rules and structure should support the relationship, not replace it. Here's what I did after recognizing these signs in my own parenting. First, I apologized to my kids. I told them I'd been too focused on rules and not enough on connection, and I was going to do better. That vulnerability opened a door that had been closing. Second, I drastically reduced my rules to only what truly mattered: safety, respect, and basic family functioning. This immediately reduced friction and gave us more space for positive interaction. Third, I made connection time non-negotiable. 20 minutes a day, one-on-one with each child, no agenda, no teaching moments, just being together, doing whatever they wanted. This rebuilt the trust and closeness that strictness had damaged. Fourth, I started responding to mistakes and misbehavior with curiosity instead of consequences. Instead of immediate punishment, I'd ask what happened, what were you thinking, what could we do differently next time? This transformed discipline from something that created fear into something that built problem-solving skills and kept our connection intact. Fifth, I practiced flexibility and grace. I started considering context, emotional state, and circumstance before enforcing rules. I gave second chances. I adjusted expectations based on what my child was going through. This didn't create chaos. It created a home where my kids felt seen and understood. The changes in my children over 3 months were profound. They started coming to me with problems again. They relaxed around me. They showed me their authentic selves, the silly, creative, imperfect selves they'd been hiding. Our home became lighter, warmer, and more joyful. And ironically, their behavior actually improved because they were cooperating from connection rather than complying from fear. Here's what I learned about the balance between structure and strictness. Children need both boundaries and grace, both expectations and flexibility, both guidance and space to be imperfect. When we lean too far into strictness, we sacrifice relationship for control. And in the long run, it is the relationship that creates genuinely well-adjusted, responsible, and emotionally healthy adults. If these signs resonated with you and you're realizing you might be too strict, don't beat yourself up. I've been there. Awareness is the first step. You can change this starting today. Please share this video with another parent who might need this perspective. Drop a comment and tell me which sign hit home for you, or if you've made changes from strict to balanced, share what worked for you. And subscribe because we're building a community of parents who prioritize connection and relationship while still providing the structure children need. Thank you for being here and for being brave enough to look honestly at your parenting. Your kids will benefit enormously from the changes you make.